Hi everyone, I am Vardha Sharma, editor Newsband, daily English newspaper of Navi Mumbai. Today we have with us Mrs. Nidhi Chaudhary, who is the district collector of Raigad. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Vardha.
Before proceeding with our sets of questions, let me just give a short profile of Ms. Chaudhary. She has done her master's in 3 subjects. In 2005, she did her master's in English literature. Then in 2007, she did in public administration, and in 2009 in rural development. Then she was manager in Reserve Bank of India for 5 years, was with the Indian Audit and Account Service for 1 year, and then joined Indian Administrative Services in 2012. She has served as Assistant Collector at Penn, that is Raigad, Chief Executive Officer at Palghar, Joint Commissioner MCGM Mumbai, Deputy Secretary Water and Sanitation Department before all this, and she joined as District Collector Raigad in January 2020. Ma'am, first of all, I'm curious to know, masters in 3 subjects, and that too completely different. You have your English literature, then public administration and rural development. How come and why?
Yeah, I always had a keen interest in academics, and in fact, my 4th master's degree would be about to be over. I really don't want to give up studies, not just for the sake of getting degrees. That's just not the idea. My idea is to keep learning and keep remaining connected with books. So just we are waiting for some guidelines from the government about whether exams are going to happen or not, online, offline, whatever way. So my final year exams for public policy are about to be probably conducted soon.
Do you get time? How do you manage?
I really, this is something that is very close to my heart. I don't want to be an officer who just reads the files and does not go into details and circulars and guidelines and law. In fact, I would like to do LLB sometime later maybe, and PhD also. So I don't know what turn life will take in future, but there is no harm in dreaming. There is no harm in planning. There is no harm in having some vision for your own life. So I really want to be someone who is knowledgeable, and on the basis of knowledge, on the basis of understanding of issues, somebody who takes decisions.
Ma'am, you joined in January 2020, just recently, and immediately after a couple of months, you have had quite a few challenges. And of course, I'm talking in terms of COVID-19 and also the floods. So when I'm talking about COVID-19, there are a couple of questions that I would like to ask. First of all is, the number is rising there. So what measures is the administration taking up to control this? Secondly, the district does not have adequate medical infrastructure. In fact, it is not really up to the mark. So what is the administration doing to ramp up the facilities in terms of testing, tracking, and also treatment? And thirdly, how is the antigen testing facility being made available in rural areas?
You rightly said that the district does not have much of the health infrastructure the way we have probably in the city of Navi Mumbai or Thane. The only city that had some quality private sector healthcare is Panvel in our district. This was a challenge that we knew from the beginning, and therefore we actually started ramping up our medical facilities in all the sub-district hospital, rural hospital. While we, in the initial phases, we understood how it is going to go, and for a very long time, we had a Panvel-centric COVID management, because we had our COVID care centers in Panvel, we had our district COVID hospital, sub-district hospital of Panvel, which was started from scratch and converted into a 130-bedded with reliable oxygen supply hospital in Panvel. And then many private hospitals were brought on board. We entered into an agreement with the MGM, which was also declared as a district COVID hospital. And this helped us in a big way when the numbers were less and all the COVID treatment was focused. We had dedicated, trained people there, and we could handle it. But while we were sending our patients to Panvel, we were also ramping up our facilities in sub-district hospital, rural hospitals. We had prepared for at least 2 to 3 COVID care centers and 1 district COVID health center, the dedicated COVID health center in every tehsil. So my rural hospitals today also have some kind of reliable oxygen supply. All sub-district hospitals have minimum 50 to 100 bedded reliable oxygen supply with some Dura tank facilities and jumbo tanks. So this helped us in managing when the numbers started spreading first from Panvel to the MMR tehsils of Pain, Uran, Tarjat, Alibag. And then there was a slight spread in more industrialized tehsils of ours, which is Mangaon, Roha and Mahad. Later we realized that this is now even seeping into the villages, and you spoke about antigen testing and testing capacity in the district. Although we were facing multiple challenges while this was happening on 3rd of June, a cyclone hit the district, and it happened after over a century, and we had to really basically fight against time and to evacuate people, to save people's lives, and then do the relief and rehabilitation activities. All this during COVID, all this while also managing that the COVID numbers do not go up. This testing thing, we had proposed to government in May itself that we want to set up a district COVID lab in Raigad. Due to Nisarga, somewhere there was some lag in our follow-up. But immediately after all the Nisarga relief and rehabilitation could be disbursed and distributed to a great extent, we immediately started focusing on this district COVID lab proposal to government, and we got it approved. And I'm happy to share that now Raigad has its own government lab for COVID testing. So it has been started on 22nd of August. We also have got TruNAT machines at Panvel and Alibag. We have procured more than 1 lakh antigen test kits. And instead of keeping this facility only at civil hospital or sub-district hospital, we had given testing training, antigen testing training to even PHC level doctors, nurses, and lab technicians. So as of today, if anybody who is having any kind of symptoms which are connected with COVID and wants to get tested for COVID, even at the primary health center level, we have provided antigen test kits. So yes, there were challenges to ramp up the healthcare infrastructure, especially when you don't have much of private sector. It is all that is there in the public healthcare sector that you have to improve. I'm also happy to share that District Hospital Alibag, we are right now working on a 100-bed reliable oxygen beds facility with 40 ICU beds also. So that is going to come up very soon in September, this month only. So all the projections that are there, even though the numbers might be appearing to be going in a bad way, I just would like to share that there was once a time that only 400 to 500 tests used to happen. Today we are testing around nothing less than 2,500. So it is a many-fold rise in testing.
Right.
People are also coming forward, and not just government facilities. I have personally always believed that we have to take along the private sector, be it labs or the private hospitals, in this battle against COVID. So my major cities like Panvel has got private labs. Their testing booths have been kept, put up at different locations. Alibag city has got a private facility testing booth. Same way it has been done in Khalapur, it is being done in Karjat, it is done in Pain. So most of my cities, if citizens want to go for testing, they don't have to just rely on government testing facilities. There are these private players also whose testing booths have been set up in major cities. Home collection, home-based service also has been allowed to these private players. This is adding up to numbers, and the numbers are, yes, it is increasing, and of late post the recent religious festivals of Ganesh Chaturthi and Muharram both. After that, and due to probably opening up, and more testing. The numbers are more, but we have the facilities in place, and therefore we see that we would be able to manage it.
Now the unlockdown process has started. So how is it going on in the Raigad district?
Uh, this is also one thing from the beginning, when the first lockdown was started and it was directed that only essential industries can be started. We took a very, very proactive step, and all the industries which were covered under continuous processing, food, pharmaceutical, agriculture related industries, without even their application, they were approved, without even application. And I don't know if it has approved anywhere else, where we just got a list from the Directorate of Industries that which are the industries which are categorized under continuous processing, under food, pharma, agriculture, and without having any application in place, we allowed them, which we think was a right decision. For chemical industry, because Raigad has got many chemical industries, and our country has witnessed more than 10 accidents in elsewhere in such industries which were suddenly locked down, and then when they opened up, some safety measures were not in place. So in Raigad, while we closed these industries which were not covered in essential sector, we allowed them to keep 10 to 20 people to ensure that they are safely shut down, and even during the entire shutdown there are safety measures in place, so which also to some extent I would believe that helped in restarting. When the unlock mode happened, the restarting of chemical industries in Raigad also happened very fairly safely and very quickly. It did not take much time. This unlock guidelines, mission begin again guidelines, the spirit of this is revival of economy. And understanding this revival of economy, now even Taloja industries, the non-essential industries in Taloja, which in the initial guidelines were not allowed in MMR area, even those have been allowed to open with COVID appropriate behavior and COVID appropriate guidelines in place. So as far as industries go, they have been allowed. Hotels and restaurants, as per the recent guidelines, hotels have been allowed, restaurants only for parcel service. And I think that we probably are going in a way that we have to learn to live with COVID, and have to probably teach and create awareness more about COVID appropriate behavior. And this unlock mode is here to stay. And people have to understand that government and we are not going to keep locking down again and again. We rather would want people to follow the guidelines, wear masks when they are in public places, use sanitizers, maintain distance, don't go to crowded places, don't have large ceremonies at your home and with your relatives. So if those guidelines are followed by people in letter and spirit, the numbers will remain in control, and we will be able to manage with the healthcare sector infrastructure that we have.
Now let us talk about the landslide and the floods. So what has been the extent of damage in terms of property and lives?
Nisarga was very bad. More than 2 lakh houses got damaged. Some 2,400 houses got completely damaged, and 2 lakh houses had partial damages. Approximately 14,000 hectare of horticulture got damaged in Raigad. Raigad is a very horticulture intensive district with mango plantation, cashew, coconut, areca nut. So they had major losses. There have been damages to fishing boats, fishing nets, to shops also. And on behalf of, I think, all the people of Raigad, I am thankful to Government of Maharashtra for immediately giving the relief compensation relief package to the people, and not just giving the relief, but giving it manifold. So NDRF norms, when they were 6,000 for minor damages, the Government of Maharashtra increased it to 15,000, 25,000 and 50,000 depending on the percentage of damage. And likewise for partial damage, full damage, for loss of clothing and utensils and crop, almost every parameter Government of Maharashtra has increased the relief package for the people of Raigad. So that is one good thing as far as relief is concerned. The damages were many, but like any crisis, teaches us a lot of things. So in Nisarga also, we have probably learned a lesson that we have to go back to our traditional knowledge and start building the traditional Mongolian Konkan type houses more, rather than having these tin sheets and asbestos sheet based monsoon sheds, which will go away the moment the wind speed will be more than 60.
Yeah, as you said
And
that we have learned.
landslide, yes, all the areas wherein landslide happens have been identified, and the proposal has been sent to government, to the State Disaster Management Authority, for shifting of the people who are living in landslide prone area. Currently, the method is that we evacuate them every year during monsoon and shift them to Samaj Mandir or some school. But this cannot continue as a regular phenomena, and therefore we have proposed their permanent shifting to some other places. And in some areas, the building of retention walls, etc., has been recommended, and this proposal has been sent to government.
Uh, Also, some parts of Raigad district, also had unseasonal floods, and also, in some villages and farmlands, and particularly in Uran. And it is said that it is due to the blockage of tidal water flow due to some infrastructure project. Has the administration taken cognizance of this?
This, I'm told, happened last year. Last year, there were some issues in which Uran city and surrounding areas got flooded because NMSEZ related some construction activity was there. But immediately, the administration filed an FIR and got the construction stopped. Also, there was some issue of floodgates of CIDCO, and it was found out that some obstruction has come in those floodgates, and so those were to be removed. This year, I'm told that most of the obstructions from the floodgates have been removed, and floodgates were opened this year, and therefore the flooding was, to some extent, it was mitigated and not as bad as last year.
Okay, and there has also been quite a lot of uproar with regards to the violation of environmental rules and regulations. For instance, the administration itself has filed FIRs in at least 4 cases in Uran alone. For instance, we have for damaging mangroves at Pagote, then burial of Venkal wetland, attempt to dump debris at Panje wetland, and also dumping of garbage on mangroves at Bori Pakhari Uran. And environmentalists say that even after filing the FIRs, nothing concrete has happened. So what would you like to say on this?
First thing that as per Honorable High Court of Bombay directions, all the wetland survey was undertaken, and this happened, I believe, under the aegis and guidance of High Court of Maharashtra. And accordingly, a list of wetlands, the identified wetland, has been sent to government for approval. I'm not really sure if these places are in the notified, because this all happened before I joined Raigad. So this has been sent to government, and this is yet to be notified. So wetlands in Raigad are yet to be notified. I don't know which of these are going to come as wetlands. You rightly said that FIRs have been filed. FIRs have been filed every time when the complaint was received and it was found to be true. We filed FIR, but after filing of FIR, it is the job of police machinery. And Uran and Panvel, this comes under the Commissioner of Police area. And that FIR getting turned into a charge sheet, and then it is a court process in which we as administrators cannot intervene much. You said about Bori Pakhri. Now that is an issue. I get messages almost daily on this issue. Whenever they send a message of some fire taking place in that area, we send the fire brigades and get it. But the problem is this Bori Pakhri was given to Uran Municipal Council way back in, I believe, 2006. It was a land, plain flat land given for dumping purpose to Uran Municipal Council, officially, legally given to them. This is not an unauthorized dumping in first place. So it is because they were told that this is the place that you are given for, and every city council for that matter needs some place for dumping. However, understanding the fact that there are mangroves which have grown in past 13-14 years in the surrounding area, and now because the Uran Municipal Council population has increased in the same time, and the amount of debris that gets generated in the city has also increased manifold. So there is a need to probably give them alternative place, and this area comes under SIDCO, and the main planning authority in that area is SIDCO. This issue was discussed and the land has been proposed for Uran Municipal Council. We are awaiting an NOC from SIDCO, and if that NOC is given, then another alternative land can be given to SIDCO, to Uran Municipal Council, and that probably can solve this issue to some extent. There is an element also which the citizens per se can play a role, because every house generates a liquid waste and solid waste, and a lot of waste can be managed at home. So if citizens start managing their waste at home, probably the dumping grounds would receive only the waste that cannot be recycled at home. So this is something on which India lacks a lot, and all cities, say today it is an issue of Uran, tomorrow it can be of Roha, Mangaon, Tada, Poladpur, or any other city also. This aspect of managing the liquid waste at home, solid waste which can be recycled, can be given, this is something in which all of us are lacking to a great extent, and despite Swachh Bharat Abhiyan's next stage of ODF++ and ODF+, which is more about solid and liquid waste management, somewhere we have not done much, somewhere citizen support has also not been much. We mix all our waste at home. So kitchen waste is also going with papers, with glass, with plastic, and then segregating it becomes extremely difficult for municipal council. So while yes, as administration, we should be thinking of an alternative place for Uran Municipal Council, which does not lead to destruction of mangroves. At the same time, probably a lot of awareness needs to be created around managing the waste at home, and giving as minimal as possible to the municipal council waste collectors.
Actually, my another question was that, we talked about the dumping site in Uran, Bori Pakari. See, there has been, again, the residents have been saying that what is really alarming, and in fact, we have also, Newsband has also carried this news many times, but unfortunately, nothing much has happened. The waste, the garbage site is just 500 meters away from the residential area, which is first,
residential area has come much later. The garbage site was given earlier.
But it is there now. Yes, it is there now.
Resident came later. So while people buy their properties, there is a principle in economics which everybody knows, that buyer beware principle. And this is applied maximum when you buy a property, land or the flat, apartment. This dumping site was given before this apartment, the residents of...
But the approval for construction, is it not given by the administration? I mean, don't they see that it doesn't come within the vicinity of the dumping site? Because it poses grave health hazard.
There is no doubt that there is grave health hazard, but wherever we are going to give, in Uran for that matter, because of the fast urbanization, the land that we have proposed, and we also proposed an alternative place, but we first have to have an NOC from the Gram Panchayat in place. And none of the Gram Panchayats, nobody would want to have your debris, a city's debris in a village. And nowadays, even villagers have become very active. So somewhere the debris has to go, because we are creating a lot of debris. Each one of us are creating debris at home and are just giving it away to municipal workers without doing our own job. And once we give, this is an authorized dumping ground. First thing which we have to understand, this issue of the neighboring society and communities being in 500 meters distance, that can be looked into why this permission was given.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's an authorized building or it's an unauthorized building. All those aspects I am not aware of. What I am telling is, this debris, if it's not dumped here, it is going to be dumped somewhere else. And Uran is a fast urbanizing place, and it is going to be dumped in some other village. So this is the more important issue probably should be to have facilities wherein the debris gets processed and converted into fertilizers and plastic gets processed and converted into. Otherwise, if today you are covering for these people, next day you will be covering from some other people. So for them, the issue will be resolved, but somewhere else the issue is going to be created.
Yeah, but this is a part of the
solution is not this.
Part of the planning authority that while planning.
But this dumping ground was authorized. It is not. It is. It was there for. It is there on paper as given to Uran Municipal Council. It is not something that Uran Municipal Council is unauthorized with.
Agreed. But the residentials have residences. Yes, that is true. They have to. That residences have come, and now I know that the administration is very busy with handling the COVID challenge, but at the same time the public health is equally important, and since the residents have already come up, we have the residential buildings, so some solution has to be found, because now the debris, along with the debris, such waste like even the face masks and the unused gloves are being dumped, which is posing grave health hazard. In fact, one of your predecessor had promised to start a compost unit just away from the site. So has there been any progress in that regard?
No, nothing has happened, but that's what exactly I was coming to the point, that instead of the shifting and all can happen, but wherever it gets shifted, the focus should be on building some composting facility, some plastic recycling facility, and more segregation at home. Even if segregation happens, and we know that this is liquid, this is solid, unfortunately, even the municipal waste collection vehicles don't have these segregation chambers. So they also, while even if people, citizens segregate, this also gets mixed, and then we have to have rag pickers to segregate it all. And the very reason why composting does not succeed, does not successfully happen in municipal council areas, because it has to be segregated so well that the compostable material is separate, plastic is completely separate, glass is completely separate, tin is separate. So this doesn't happen, and that's the crux of problem. So this has to have some long-term planning, and I would certainly look into this aspect if Uran Municipal Council has any such proposal. Whatever support is required from my side would always be extended to the Municipal Council. These are not short-term problems. Yes. Not for the people over there, not for the people wherever it gets shifted. These are problems which requires long-term solutions, probably more investment than what we are doing at present in the sanitation area. But I will certainly be looking into these aspects, and you rightly said that this is a graver public health nuisance, having such open dumping grounds, because they are breeding grounds for lots of protozoa, mosquitoes, and that also cause public health hazards. We need to look on these things, and we need to have long-term planning for, there is no doubt about it. I will be, once probably some of these things in 2020 starts becoming somewhat better for the citizens of India, crisis after crisis, every part of India is facing. So we really need to have some good times back.
And also, I guess, because there is also a need to spread awareness with regards to segregation, because many households are not aware about the segregation of waste. So if the administration comes forward and spreads a message and telling them what exactly, how to segregate, probably, or maybe some stricter rules are being implied, then probably this can happen at home in other places as well.
Segregation is not that difficult. I come from a rural area in Rajasthan. I remember in our childhood also, there would be some person coming maybe once in 2 months, once in a month, or later than that, but he will come and collect all the glass pieces also, all the bottles, plastic. Villages do not generate too much of waste. So the waste picker will come in months. But then people would keep it in one corner of the house. Kagaj ye sare idhar hai, newspaper sare idhar hai. Even having, every society for that matter can identify one Raddi wala, and he is not Raddi wala. He is actually going to change your city. He is going to change the look of your place if you give all the glass pieces, all the bottles, all plastic waste to him. Even if he is paying only 6 rupee a kg or 2 rupee a kg, all old clothes, instead of throwing them in the garbage, give it away. There used to be people who would give you utensils in exchange of clothes. old clothes. So there was some informal mechanism for almost every kind of collection, and I have seen it personally. But with every passing day, we think that segregating at home requires a lot of time and investment, keeping it at one place, and we don't do that. If we start doing this, every society in Uran and surrounding areas can identify one waste collection agency which will collect plastic, glasses, tin, clothes, and even the liquid waste for that matter. All of it, in fact, is a wealth also. Waste is wealth, but we don't generate it that way. We don't create it that way. We don't think at the waste generated in our home as wealth, and not even for them.
That is true.
So there need to be a cultural change in our mindset about what we generate at home. Old tires lying in houses, old buckets or anything, everything can be given away to a person who would recycle it, who would reuse it. Old cycles lying in all the societies, I see it wherever I go, and then I speak to the management there and I tell them, why are you keeping these old cycles? Instead, you should have given to some child who would have used it. So we don't do that. There are lots of NGOs on almost every sector, old clothes to old bicycles to old vehicles. We don't do the right thing with scrap. That's where the problem is.
The Mangrove Foundation has been asking for the transferring of the wetlands again, Belpara, Benkal and Panje for conservation and protection. So is that process being done from your end?
Right now, what is done is, I have already told that the High Court has asked for the wetland notification that has been sent to government, and once government notifies that, after that the process will start. The government's notification of wetlands is yet to happen, so this process has not started. However, I am told that every year mangrove replantation exercise is being done by administration also, by Forest Department also. And this year, after Nisarga, even as the district collector, I have been thinking very keenly that we have to do something on mangrove protection all along the coastline, not just about Uran, but the entire coastline of Raigad. We have to ensure that mangroves are back in place, mangroves are replanted in large numbers. Then Suru forest, which has been damaged in a big way, coconut plantation as a barrier to these cyclones. We need to do a lot of plantation. Mangrove foundation or no foundation, we are already having a plan for protecting mangroves and planting mangroves in a lot of locations.
Illegal mining of hills is another serious problem, and it not only hits the revenue but also impacts the nature, especially in eco-sensitive regions like Uran. So is the administration taking any action to curb this?
This is being reported from Naina area, and in Naina, CIDCO has been allowed to do mining activities for the Naina related work only. So it will be, if at all any mining is happening, it must be happening for the airport construction only, for the leveling of the area. Other than that, wherever complaints come, Tehsildars take action. But Naina notified area, it is CIDCO, which is the authority, and there has been a government resolution also, as per my knowledge, what I have been told by people, that royalty is not to be charged. So there is no question of revenue, because if a government resolution is there in place which says that from Naina area, notified area for the Navi Mumbai International Airport, this royalty is not to be charged for mining activities, then we can't do much in this.
Okay, and traffic on the Uran Panvel Road, no, there has been a quite heavy vehicular density. So is the administration taking any step along with the traffic department to see to this?
The long-term solution to this will be if this multimodal corridor comes into place, which is already in pipeline, and a lot of work has started for this Virar Alibag multimodal corridor. If that comes into place, I would say that even 100% of the heavy traffic, heavy vehicles traffic would move on that multimodal corridor. And this Uran Panvel NH4 work, National Highway 4 work, that is what we review very regularly. And we have been told that almost 70% of the work is complete, and some of the bridges will be open for public. And once those bridges are open for public, the basically footpaths or the sidewalks which have been created on the roads, they will be repaired and rebuilt and then would be given for public use. Today what is happening is because the bridges are not open, because the NH4 work is not complete, so there is not much space available for vehicular movement, and that creates a lot of congestion. With NH4 work completion, opening of these bridges, multimodal corridor coming up, the long-term solutions are these. Short-term, yes, traffic police of Navi Mumbai takes some measures. They have been directed, even National Highway Authority of India was directed to put up signboards at various places, especially on places where traffic convergence were taking place and which were accident prone. So actions have been taken, directions have been given on those lines. I would be personally obviously monitoring this National Highway for work completion. And I'm told that only 30% work is remaining, and once that gets done, this issue will be over.
Lastly, I would like to request you to give some message to the viewers. What would you like to say?
This COVID pandemic has two aspects to it, and one of them is having a COVID appropriate behavior, which I told earlier also, that we have to, while we, like you and I are sitting in person, so we are not wearing a mask. But when we are having interaction with people in close proximity, we must wear masks. We must maintain a distance and not sit in close proximity if possible. And use sanitizer, hand wash. This is first thing. But second thing, which is to me more important, if at all anybody develops any symptoms of COVID, please don't get panicked. Get yourself tested. The testing facility has been now provided up to primary health center level. If your test turns positive, stay positive. Don't think that anything is going to happen to you. 90% of the people do not develop any symptoms or are mildly symptomatic. There will be slightly some fever for 2 to 3 days and you will recover. So I would like to say to all viewers of Raigad, first, maintain COVID appropriate behavior as far as possible. If at all you develop symptoms, please get yourself tested. If at all you get positive, please stay positive. And don't think that Corona is going to kill. Corona is not going to kill us. We have, with our innate immunity and willpower, we will be able to overcome if at all we get it. If at all we get it. So please be positive. Don't get panicked at all. A lot of deaths I see are happening when people get panicked. The fear grips them so much that even a mild fever turns them into having low oxygen, and then they turn into breathless, and then any treatment is not able to save. If you are not ready to recover, if you are not ready to overcome the fear that you basically develop after getting a positive result. So my message would be, please stay positive. Please believe in your innate immunity. Also believe in your willpower to overcome COVID-19.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and wish you all the best for your future endeavor. Thank you.